Hey, hey, been promising you some streaming every day, and we're going to talk about Jack Adler, uh, just fresh off Pop XP with my own book, Devil Flyer #1. It's an anthology. All the pencils, inks, and lettering and cleanup are done on the main story. I just have to get some backup stories in the back, the Inner Man, Second Skin, Crawl Space, uh, titles, things that I'm going to start that's going to be going ongoing, little stories, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So the sign-ups on Indiegogo, you go sign up on the Indiegogo now for the Ashcan edition. That'll be 6 pages with two pinups and some. We'll give you the list of titles that'll be in it. And the whole book, the 48 pages, will launch March 1st. So I'm excited about that. Wanted to tell you about that. If you're interested in Devil Flyer #1, go sign up on the sign up list. You'll get a free trading card and some other good stuff, hopefully. So that's going to be a quick campaign with the Ash Can because the whole book will be launching March 1st. I don't want to go too long with this stream, and I do have a massive collection along with my friend. I've got at least one of his pieces here. He's going to be coloring one of the pinups. And I want to talk about this man right here. This was Amazing World of DC Comics that came out in January 1976. And this magazine that wasn't readily available on the stands. I don't know if you had to mail order it or special order it, but it's behind the scenes in DC's production department, and you see the characters back there working and the Jack talking to someone else there. But this is a rare photograph of Jack Adler on the cover speaking. And this magazine cover, this is issue 10, covered comics, movies, animation, news, and reviews behind the scenes. And it came out in January 1976 for $1.50. What a deal. So that's Jack Adler speaking there. Of course, he hired and fired there. He was a big part of it. Neil Adams said, I don't want anybody coloring my stuff except Jack Adler. Jack Adler was a colorist, but he was much more than that. He was also the DC archivist, and he kept stuff like this. This is a sticker. It's just an old sticker of Superman DC with the old DC logo, the old DC bullet there. Um, and these things are rare to have. I mean, unused, but it was part of his collection. This came out in 1976, is also printed in the USA. Good red, white, and blue there. But something like that just gets lost. On a previous stream, I've already shown you the Superman piece. Uh, he was a photographer and a colorist himself, but from Superman #1, except this was in the giant limited collector's edition number C61. And of course, this is the splash page to Action Comics #1. Jack Adler colored some of Action Comics #1. Might have been his first job at DC. I'm not sure, but he did do some coloring for Action Comics #1. So he'd been around a long time, retired sometime in the 70s, I think, the latter part of the 70s. In the thumbnail, I showed you this Son of Tomahawk, and and this is a painted piece, and they come with COAs, nice COAs that tell you about them. Um, this is a Joe Kubert cover, and it's signed by Jack Adler, and he signed his full name there. And I've actually got a picture of him and Robert that I'll have to post at some point. But he signed it in ballpoint pen over his painted piece. I also have an approval cover, a trimmed approval cover of the same thing. So nice matched pair there. The color guide, not really the color guide, but uh, a hand colored piece that would lead to the color guide. And all this was part of the process of sorry it's glaring so bad because these are in Mylars. You want to take care of them. But like this COA, certificate of authenticity for you that don't know. This is hand colored original art for Tomahawk 9. What hand colored art original work is. This These are unique, one of a kind paintings that were used to show the printer what exactly color shades would be needed to print the final comic cover. The Adler collection features hundreds of these, most hand colored by Mr. Adler, with others colored by the original artist. Most of these were done in watercolor and contain some printer color codes that were used to set the finished color. This one does not have those color codes all over it. But he even indicated in red certain things that the lettering would be done on the red. I believe in the binding, you even see that this would have had a printed binding. Jack Adler collection, the hand-colored original mentioned above, comes from the Jack Adler collection. Jack Adler worked for DC Comics from 1951 to 1981. So there we go. We got it right there on the COA, talking about his career in comics. And but even though it says he worked for DC Comics in 1951, I believe he still was a colorist on Action Comics #1, probably as a freelancer. An award, because he'd been around a while. He lived to about 90 or into his 90s before he passed away. And he's at a convention with Robert, who I bought this from, with this in his hand before he signed it. And then he signed it. An award-winning colorist, Mr. Adler eventually became vice president of production at DC Comics. During his tenure, Mr. Adler amassed a rare collection of comic approval covers for 4 color separations, and that shows you the different separations of color: magenta, sienna, the black and white line artwork, grayscale, perhaps the blue. The original hand-colored pieces featured many Silver Age comics, 1967 to 1974. There are a few that go up into maybe that were saved by him or sent to him that were part of the, hey, Genuine Comics, good morning, as you say. Good morning. I guess it is early morning. Despite Mr. Adler's effort in saving these unusual find, many pieces of hand-colored original art were lost. Since so few survived destruction, hand-colored original art pieces from this era are totally limited works of art. The hand-colored original art listed above, being this one, which he hand-colored, I'm sure, or either that or Joe Kubert did, but I imagine he hand-colored this one. Above is guaranteed to be the authentic piece from the Jack Adler collection, as long as it is accompanied with a certificate, and then it gives, it's signed and dated. And usually he would date these things when I would buy them, so I probably bought this in 2007. And like I say, I have a trimmed to that. I've got a Russian bot already. If you want to leave this way, welcome to our town, it says. He's covered in snow, frozen body. But this is a approval cover. And I have more covers than anything in this because they were more readily available. But only like 1% of like 80-something thousand pieces were saved. And they were saved by Jack Adler. And they were bought directly from Robert that I bought these from. He's based out in Arizona. From the estate. And even after he died, he went in with his son and they checked the attic and even found a Dick Gargiano piece up in the attic from the 70s. This is just the book, the way it would be. Challenges Unknown 79. Another Joe Kubert, The Monster Maker was the title of it. But gorilla cover, they found out, especially in the 60s, but they knew if they put a gorilla on the cover, they'd sell more. Well, why on this comic? Because I have 2 pieces here in the Jack Adler that helped produce that book. And here they are. I have an early pull here of an approval cover. You would do that from inspection purposes. Somebody would come and pull one on, probably put it on a clipboard. I know that's the way we used to do it at World Color, and inspect and pull a cover off the line as the comic's being made, and they would see if anything's needs to be changed. And I even have a notation from Robert on here. Where are the words of the? Remember, it was challengers of the unknown. Also, there's no issue number. It says April up there, but there's no issue number. So they left out of the on there. And to make it more dramatic, old 20 center Bronze Age of that book, you can compare the two. Boom. See the white? See the difference in color? This is how that comic looked. This is the final thing, and they had the tiny little wording up there, says of the right there, right where I'm pointing, but this one does not. Plus, there's black behind that lettering, so they had color changes. And you can even see a little difference in the printing and the color. Mine's a little darker than my friend's here. I'm actually keeping this for one of my artists that's over there in Jackson, Tennessee. We wanted to keep them together as a set. But that's, this is part of the old process of how comics were made. And here's a rare one, Hawk and Dove #1. This was the first one I bought out of the Jack Adler collection. This is art by Steve Ditko, and there were very few Ditkos. I know there was a couple creepers. I have one of them hand colored that you'll be seeing. Hawk and Dove #1. This is a I just want to make sure I've got it right. It's an approval cover, and you have trimmed and untrimmed approval covers. And the untrimmed will have more border around it. And I gave $300. I don't mind telling you, I gave $300 for this one when I first started out, being that there were very few examples of Steve Ditko. These are all going to be DC covers from that time that he saved them. It covered a lot of genres. This one I have signed by the artist, Luis Dominguez, and it's a gray tone partial cover. Gray tone would be like gray tone on his flesh here, on his hands, in certain parts there would be undefined really by black lining, but it's a partial gray tone cover, which really drew me to that. This is another approval, 20-cent approval cover. See on there, I'm sorry for the glare. I have these in Mylar and they tend to glare, but you can see up here that Luis Dominguez, who's an elder artist now, probably in his 70s, he did a lot of like House of Secrets here, like this one, and House of Mysteries and things like that. Another example, maybe, of his work is here, House of Mystery. And it's a Luis Dominguez. He would often just assign it by doing L. This is interesting because this here is a silver proof from House of Mystery #16. I haven't talked much about silver proofs, and you can see up here it's untrimmed like this approval cover, and even has notation that it was printed in Sparta, and often has the lines here for the comic, the cover title, the month it come out, the number, maybe the artist working on it, even has the color notations, yellow TC, red TC, black TC, blue TC. But this is a silver print, and they can look different. That guy, that taxi driver, is about to get it from a creature from the Black Lagoon, it looks like. But it's interesting up here. He's got like a pack of cigarettes, some lettering, another pack of cigarettes up there. He's dropping his cigar so out of his mouth when he sees those eyes looking back at him. And then here you can more plainly see in color, in full color, This is the approval cover to the 5-stage process of printing the book. This is how, like, maybe a near mint or very fine would look, if you had the book. If you didn't know that didn't have any guts to it, that it's so thin that, you'd think, well, that's just a book, a 20-cent book. No, this is the production art from the Jack Adler collection that helped produce that book. Here's another one, Black Magic, and it's another 20-center, but it says up here still 20-cent. And actually, I bought the same one twice, which was real rare, probably the only one collection that had two. That just means they pulled a couple approvals and that they were saved. He must have really liked that one. And I don't know if it denotes the artist on here. I don't think it does. It may be a Jerry Garnetti cover. I'm not sure. I liked it because it was so modern looking, kind of cartoony. Black Magic, number 5. Of course, Kirby did some of those covers on Black Magic too. Now, this is interesting. I have to make sure I have it all here. Oh, I may not have the book with it, but I have the book, the file copy of the book. File copy would have been, sometimes they kept file copies of the books that they printed. I have the file copy to these World's Finest here that Neil Adams did. This here is the painted that would have went to the printers, and this would have shown him. You can see he just went over red there for the lettering, that this would be in red. He's got there sometimes a little dot of white out there, but this has Dr. Fate. You can better see it on that, on the approval cover, but a classic cover by Neil Adams. And it had it says 2+2 Golden Age thrillers, Robot Man and the Ghost Patrol. This was a 48 pager for 25 cents, but the main story was Dr. Fate, and they're linked up pulling the world. So I guess you could say that's kind of a bondage cover, but this is for World's Finest 208. And then there's a better look at just the hand colored white out or white, either use squash or watercolor. And you can see how much more definition this one has to this, because this is just to be like a color guide for the printer. Let me know if you're still out there, Genuine Comics. Make another comment. Edgar Rice Burroughs' Korak, Son of Tarzan, another Joe Kubert cover. I know he loved Joe Kubert. In fact, Jack Adler, I'd mentioned in another stream, was asked by Joe Kubert to come in as partners with his new school, the Kubert School. But I think that just wasn't the way that something that Jack Adler wanted to do. So Joe Kubert did it by himself, but he was asked to be a partner and an instructor and teacher there at the very beginning of the Kubert School. He really had a lot of respect for Joe Kubert. And this is another example, a lesser known book, maybe, Korak, Son of Tarzan, one of the latter issues, number 54. And you got a nice squid there, cracking, whatever, entangling them. And, much like Tarzan, everybody remarks about his feet aren't too defined. Joe Kubert always said, leave something undefined. The reader's mind will make up the difference. They know what a foot looks like. And of course, that helped him on the expediency of things. Here's a diptych, and by diptych, I mean, and maybe I'm using the wrong terminology. I think it's a diptych's 2, and triptych or trifecta is 3. And I do have examples where I have 3. I like that World's Finest. I have the file copy, so all 3 of those together. This is an interesting one, and early one that I got early on. The Phantom of Woodstock Festival. We all know Woodstock, right? And this is a uncut final test cover for the Unexpected number 122. And that's Dick Gargiano artwork. But I liked it from the get-go. And when this was one of the early ones because it mentioned Woodstock, on the cover. And here's the other one, which is going to be the trimmed approval cover. Try and get it sit here a little better for you in the boarding bag. But this is the approval cover, and it's all trimmed, whereas the other one wasn't. And these would have the ads on the inside and the back cover as well. If I took them out and showed you, whatever was to be printed was printed on these, not just the front cover. On those untrimmed ones, I know for sure. Here's a good one by Nick Carty, artwork, I believe, from Beyond the Unknown. 24, another 20 center. It pictures a comic artist depicting this character, and he's at his art desk with this light, and he says, "Wow, not even I believe a monster like that could exist," while it's flying in his window there. And this is an approval cover from Beyond the Unknown, number 24. Another cent classic that you might have in your collection. If not, it's go out and get it. So I try and match up and have in my collection all these that were featured in the Adler collection, just because they're Adler collection, and I want the books to go with the approval artwork or whatever I have, color guide. Or this one's Tomahawk 122, another approval cover. Nice bow and arrow. That Hawk was sort of like Frontier, but also had aliens and other wild stuff on some of their covers. This particular one does not. But this was a 12 center, a little bit older, with a smaller DC bullet or logo there in the corner. Then we have Justice League of America. Is this how World War III will be fought between the super different Earths? This one featured the one Earth, Earth X, with the Freedom Fighters, which Uncle Sam, Black Condor, the Ray here, the Human Bomb, going up against Dr. Fate, the original Sandman, Superman, and Batman. This was Justice League 108, another 20 center Bronze Age. And they would have crossovers with Earth 2. Well, this time they had crossover with Earth X, and I think maybe Earth 2 in that story too. But that was kind of like part of their Crisis series that they would have in 2 issues of Justice League every year for a decade probably. And this was one of the latter ones in the early 70s. Now this one is a Nick Carty cover, and this is another House of Mystery, number 208. And actually on the showcase book, which is like Marvel's Essential book, printed in black and white, this is the cover that they use for this. And this is an untrimmed. You can see a more margin here, and up top it's a little bit larger. And that's a compelling cover with the specter of the skeleton there by the cemetery and the kids looking at it. Closed. No one dies today. So that's pretty neat that was featured on the reprint book on the cover. This is an early appearance of the Unknown Soldier. I was thinking it was his first appearance, but I'm not sure. 162. I don't think it's his first appearance, but it could be. I didn't look that up for this stream, but here rest in honor, glory, an American soldier known only to God, coward or hero. And that's another Joe Kubert cover. Early appearance of the Unknown Soldier. Let's see what it says up there. Featuring the Unknown Soldier. It was a 52 big pager, so it was 25 cents, a little bit more in price, a little bit thicker book. And the color on that is just eye-popping, straight from the printer. This one is not in that great a shape, but just that the fact that it exists is something. Because these things were readily thrown away. They weren't saved. They were destroyed. They were shredded. Nobody wanted to take them home, hardly. And this is another Nick Carty. He did a lot of covers for DC around this time. If You Dare to Believe in Ghost, and this was kind of their generic, their Ghost is pretty a generic title, but uh, we challenge you to read True Tales of the Weird and Supernatural. The Bride Wore a Shroud, which it pictures here on the cover. A Dark Dream of Death, Stars to the Grave, Phantom of the Iron Horseman. Those would have been the stories, and you can see right there from the cover that they mentioned all the stories in issue 14. This is a approval. Again, a little bit in rougher shape, bends or stuff. This stuff was often tacked up or, got pinholes. I mean, I don't think any of the Adler collection did, but, it just that any of it exists is a testament to one guy who loved the artwork, loved the field he was working in, that he wanted to save this. This actually has a notation in pencil on it, or I think that's pencil to ink, says 2/6/73. So February 6th, 73. Although this says July. Remember, they're ahead on printing uh, these comics. They print these comics. It even has an oil stain here from a little oil, probably printing oil that got on it. But this is an approval cover. Wonder Woman number 206. And I can't really tell who the um, artist is by looking, but certainly that can be looked up, especially on graded books. But here's Wonder Woman cover with looking like a god of war there, chained to another Amazon. Um, here's a Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Kirby brings them all together on the last day of the world. Uh-oh. Guest starring that resurrected rat pack of rollicking rowdies, the Newsboy Legion, plus their stalwart sires, the Guardian. Bred to challenge man and Superman, it lashes out in fury, a new destructive force, the Four-Armed Terror. This is Superman pal, the new Jimmy Olsen. This 15 cents, early 70s, number 173. Superman on the cover. He would appear, and the Guardian would appear in the news. Of course, the Guardian was kind of like another character that Kirby and Joe Simon created for that was for DC, and it was kind of like the version blue and gold or blue and yellow version with even the more, not the rounded shield, but the diamond shaped shield that Captain America, of course, they created Captain America as well. And I think they created the Newsboy Legion as well. So there's a lot of Kirby in this, and this is done by Jack Kirby. This is Jack Kirby. Maybe Neil Adams inks on it, maybe Murphy Anderson. I'm not sure. There's a story about Superman's face was kind of redone on some that Kirby, but that's a Kirby cover, and even mentioned up here by my finger. Nice bronze, early Bronze Age, 15-cent Bronze Age. This one is by Severin. Yeah, it's a haunted tank cover. Rick, you can't leave us strapped. Yeah, just watch me, Jeb. What price war? Question mark. 20 center. GI Combat 158. Done by John Severin. And that was kind of a rarity in the collection. Some artists are featured more prominently in the collection than other. And actually, this one doesn't go with it. This shows you an example. Fighting Army number from Charlton, and that doesn't have the number. They never hardly put the number on these. and I don't have it listed here, but it's from the 60s. It's 12 center. But here you have the painted. It show you some of the process, just like these Jack Adlers. There's the a painted. This isn't part of the Jack Adler collection, but here's the bonus for the episode. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but it's hand painted. That would have went to the printers. Maybe you can see in the snow there the bean, the shots, and the that it's kind of got a more painterly feel. You know, it's pretty tight paint, so it doesn't look hand painted, but all this is hand painted, the lettering and everything for the printer. I'll set that aside. And this is a the approval cover to that. A little bit sharper though, huh? If you compare the two, it really pops now. Uh, and you can tell. And then here's you can see the notations, yellow, red, blue, black. It's got some other things up here from the printer around the edges. So that's a trifecta. That's a Charlton trifecta. And I have some color guides from Charlton that was done in the early 80s, and they look like they're done in crayon. They really do. They look like they're colored in crayon. They're reconfiguring the logo a little bit. They're maybe making a price change and things from the original book that they may have published all the way back in the 60s or maybe earlier in the 70s. And toward the end of Charlton in the 80s, they just made color corrections that look like with crayon on there. So it's really guerrilla the way they did it. Here's another painted one. And this is the second rare one that I've got of Ditko. I missed out on another creeper. I think creeper number 6 got outbid and didn't get to add that to my collection, sadly. But I did. This was an earlier one. I focused on Ditko for some of these because there was not that many in the collection, and I got in on it decade or not quite 2 decades ago, but a while back, 15 years ago or so, when I bought these, started buying these. And you can see whited out, which face hides my enemy, just white, painted white on top of that. And this was the color, hand painted, probably by Jack Adler. I doubt Steve Ditko colored, so it's probably Jack Adler's stuff. You know, sometimes you don't even know, and you see the red notated in the bullet there. Their old logo would have been a 12 center Silver Age. He had a run of about 6 or so issues. The Creeper did a very short run. Of course, Ditko created the Creeper, and that makes it even more special to me that you know that this was saved. Here's another fun title, Binky. Leave It to Binky. 12 center, number 64. This first one that I bought that had notations on the back. On the back are notations where they would have boxes, and Carmen Infantino and Joe Orlando and Jack Adler all initialed their initials on the back of this for this particular issue. I'm sure Jack Adler colored it. He's the one that initialed it. And before I bought any signed Jack Adlers, which were a little bit more, I got this one that was notated on the back by Jack Adler and Carmen Infantino, who would later be over DC Comics as editor in chief, and Joe Orlando, which I think was at the time maybe editor in chief. If I have that wrong, I'm sorry. But just see how they've got it painted in there, the 12 cents and the issue number and stuff. Just white over that red, and it almost comes out pink. But it's enough to tell the printer what color they wanted in. They didn't print it in pink; it was printed in white. But um, you know, that's old school how they did it. This is a signed Neil Adams. It's a gigantic Strange Adventures. They had Strange Adventures, but then toward in some of them, they had gigantic issues where they reprinted some of the other stuff. And like that's a Murphy Anderson, Adam Strange head there. And who knows, he probably did that Atomic Knights head too, the armor there, but it's Neil Adams, the day the earth split in two. and that's issue 228 of it, a 25 center. 7 startling stories of super science fiction. And it had Adam Strange, one of the first comics I had. I had Adam Strange and the Atomic Knights. And then you can see the other features there, and they even have that on the binding. There it says DC Gigantic Strange Adventures, 25-cent series. And it's signed in silver there, right as the Earth's splitting, right underneath the, you can see that shine there, signed by Neil Adams. He would take these and get them signed. And there's a story behind that I'll have to tell someday with this. Here's another gigantic. This is Gigantic Strange Adventures 25 cents. Got the same Adam Strange and Atomic Knights little heads there. But this is done by Joe Kubert, the man who couldn't drown. And I think that story actually this is a remake of a cover that was done in the 50s in DC Comics. The same thing where they're adding salt into the water for some reason. He's breathing underwater, but he can't breathe and just he's got to have salt added. It's a strange and bizarre story. It says he needs more salt. Pour in the whole bag before he suffocates. The man who couldn't drown. Well, looks like he could suffocate. That seems like maybe not drowning, but suffocating anyway, huh? Moving along, this is a fun one. And actually, I traded for other pieces. I traded off an Inferior Five. Often he would take some back for some other thing. They wanted checker top covers, and I gave them one that was a checker top issue. This one is not. It's 12 center. It's number 9 of the new Inferior Five, which was first featured in Showcase, as many of, and that's got all their characters there. Dumb Bunny there up the center stage, and you've got the other Golden Arrow down on the ground, and the others, you got the Blimp down here in the corner. I think that's what he was called. But the Inferior Five was kind of a spoof parody on Hey Greg, on the superhero, on the comic genre. This is an interesting one. It's also signed by Luis Dominguez, the artist, and it's got skeletal, the Weird War Tales, number 14. And this is an approval cover that's been trimmed. And with the little notation in there from who sold it to me, Robert. And he got it signed by Luis Dominguez, who's probably in his 70s now, maybe near 80. And Dumb Bunny. Yeah, Dumb Bunny. I love those. I got those in a little digest, and that's where I was first introduced to them. This is a special cover. This is the last issue of Doom Patrol, I believe, with number 124 before they went to reprint. They did have some reprint covers, but this is original cover, and it's done by Bruno Pernetti, who drew Doom Patrol. Of course, they've been on TV, The World's Most Bizarre Heroes. They came out right before the X-Men, number 124, the last original cover. So that's kind of a key Adler. All them there, the Chief, which would have been Professor X, perhaps. The inspiration for Professor X, of course, Robot Man there was kind of updated. You had Elastigirl, who could stretch like Mr. Fantastic, and the Negative Man, who had kind of a negative persona, energy persona that would come out of him. Of course, it lists all of them here: Negative Man, the Chief, Elastigirl, and Robot Girl. I'm doing it by memory. I'm not looking. This is Tales of Unexpected, and we saw an Unexpected. This is the final issue and by final issue, I don't mean final issue, but final issue that was Tales of Unexpected. Then they just changed the title to Unexpected. 1967 final issue, Neil Adams, pencils and inks on this, and it is signed down here by him. So glad to get, and he won't sign any more of these. And that's a story for another time. they had a little falling out. So any of the signed Adler collection by Neil Adams is a great. Now this one's kind of unusual because it has a cover sheet with notations on it, and it's GI Combat number 173. It's a hand colored piece, and I can tell even without looking here, hand colored original art. I can always look on these spiffy. I mean, he used to do really nice with embossed. That's Key Comics out of Arizona. And he, like I said, he got these straight from the Jack Adler. He would sell stuff for Jack Adler. It says area behind rocks, slightly lighter. So it's a notation. It's a Joe Kubert cover. And I don't know if you can see through this, but it says rocks darker, on there. So it's got a little rice paper thing over it with notations to the printer. And there's a tank cover. Yes, zoom in good on that tank for Tank Ferret. He likes tank covers. The rocks are falling on him. And this is a hand colored piece with a cover sheet. This is the only one I've seen like this. And some of these I didn't pay anything for. They were Christmas gifts. Even better, huh? I got a good friend. He's even going to hand color my ash can. And my sign up for Devil Flyer, just a reminder, went up today on the. So go and sign up if you want to get the ash can before the 48 pager launches on March 1st. This is House of Secrets, and this is unusual because it's a gray tone, sort of done in by Gray Morrow, and Gray Morrow is an artist that was like Alex Toth for Hanna-Barbera, worked on Spider-Man 1967 and did things for that cartoon. He was in animation too. But this is, I would say, a partial gray tone, or at least it looks like it's done in grease pencil. Had like a phantom up there, but just it's unusual. It is an oval design on the cover. House of Secrets. And that's an approval cover, trimmed approval cover. And that's for number 89, done by Gray Morrow. And that may be the only Gray Morrow. You gotta, Nick Cardy, there were more of that saved, and some Joe Kuberts, those were saved, but the Ditkos and like Gray Morrow and some of these artists, there might only be one or two examples. And all these are unique. These should have been destroyed. I mean, I'm not advocating, I'm glad they're not. And this was one that I bought that was actually traded in from my friend over, and then I bought it. And actually, it was bought by another. What are you saying there, Greg? That cover looks like it might be a homage to Vincent Price, maybe. Yeah, probably so. Did you know Vincent Price was born in St. Louis? I forget the name of that movie. Yeah, maybe it was Dr. Phibes. He did like even a sequel to that, The Return of Dr. Phibes. I think this is a checker top cover, DC checker top cover, and look at the cover. I had to have this. This was actually bought by somebody, I think by my friend, and then he returned it because he thought it was a painted piece and it was just an approval cover. So I got a chance to buy it, and I'm glad I did. I mean, just the color on it and that logo, and that it's a checker top cover, which I know there's collectors of the Adlers that only buy. I've actually traded back some checker top covers to get something that I wanted. And but this deals with two of the three big things that were going on in the 60s. Of course, another tank cover too. Boom, right into the logo. But it deals with racism and it deals with war. And of course, the Vietnam War was going on. Yeah, I had some of the late 70s Sergeant Rock growing up. Yeah, great. My friend loved the war stuff, and that was why he bought this. But when he saw it wasn't a hand painted piece, he sent it back, and then his loss was my gain because I believe this is an early pull. Notice it doesn't have the issue number or the price on it. This is an early pull. This isn't the final black. It would look now the coloring and everything on it is pretty much there, but they don't have the price or the issue number on this. That's another thing that says that makes it a little bit more unique. And probably the one with the price on it that was destroyed. If there was another version out there, I probably would have found it. Can't remember. Had a long time since I saw it. Yeah, yeah. Vincent Price did a lot of movies. He did a lot of movies that he really wasn't proud of with American something in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. Um, but he did the most with it what he had. Here's a Superboy 12 center, Silver Age goodness. And like I said, I've tried to go back next to these. Of course, they keep going up and up and up. So I tried to get them while I, went along and bought these things. And this one's signed by Neil Adams. Again, that's about 3 or 4 that's been signed by Neil Adams. But I'm a painter. He's got a canvas there and an easel, and that kind of appealed to me. And the monster there, and just that it's done by Neil Adams. If you don't like Neil Adams, you probably don't like comics. I mean, he's one of the greats, right? And this is an interesting one. It's got the Titanic sinking on it, and it's a gray tone cover or partial gray tone. Well, I'd say it's fully gray tone cover with the grays in it. A Strange Tale of Death for the Titanic. And I think I actually bought this one from my friend or traded him to get it. It's done by Howard Purcell. I do have some notes on some of these. UFO text story within it. So this issue has a UFO story, but this is Weird Mystery Tales, which didn't last for that long, I don't think, number 2. And that's a gray tone cover. You can see tones in the lifeboat and the ship going down, the specter up there. But that's a historical thing that really happened. Kind of a riff on that. 20-cent Bronze Age goodness with the Titanic cover. Sick. Yeah, it makes me sick to think about some of this stuff. Here's another Joe Kubert cover, a book that he worked probably on every issue of. Out, Rima the Jungle Girl. What is the mystery of Ria Lama? I don't know. I guess I'll have to buy the issue because this doesn't help me. It's just an approval cover. Number 3, Rima number 3, done by Joe Kubert. Got the natives all there, and the boy and she luscious, showing some boobage there, a little rip, or is that how it goes at an angle? I think it's ripped. And that other guy's all ripped up, but looks like they're surrounded. Got another bot. I'm going to have to rent you, Craig, so you can get these bots. They've been getting on my streams. That's the second time on this stream. This is an unusual one because there wasn't very many number 1 issues, but this is number 1 issue. It's you see the notation here. Sorry, it covers up the thing. I try and keep it with the original notations that Robert, and he signed all these. And it looks like maybe I bought this one in 2005. It was an early one because it was a number 1 cover. I think I have number 3 as well, maybe coming up here. I may not have all of my, and if you didn't see it, I even had a sticker, an old 1976 sticker, Greg, from the Adler collection. And you'll see some other mechanical art coming up. This is Champion Sports number 1. It didn't last long, but it had at least 3 issues. I know this is Jerry Gennady and Greg Fleischer. Now, Greg Fleischer, he did the original Sandman. He was a Golden Age artist. So if I've got that right, Flessel, but it's written on there, you can see. But this is a rare number 1 in the collection. There was I showed you a Steve Ditko earlier on Hawk and Dove number 1. There wasn't very many number 1 issues, and certain artists weren't. Now, Jerry Gennady, he did like Joe Kubert and Irv Novak. He did a lot of the war comics for them in the 50s and 60s. Now, this is the first Swamp Thing cover. This is the first Swamp Thing cover done by another artist, issue number 11. Bernie Wrightson, of course, did the cover, I believe, to House of Mystery that he first made his appearance in. And he did 10 issues of Swamp Thing covers. And then other artists started to do it. This is another Luis Dominguez that did a lot of their horror type stuff. So he was kind of suited to this. And that looks like Abigail to me, although it's not, the character that Alan Moore introduced, the daughter of Arcane, but a nice creature, tentacled creature, and him coming out of the fog. You can see the fog there. And sadly, this one's not signed by Luis Dominguez, although I do have some signed. But if I ever catch up with him, yeah, I'd love to have him sign this one. And I don't even know if he's still living. I haven't heard of his death. Now, here's another checker top cover. I didn't get rid of all my checker top covers. And again, this is the number one, which was rare to get in the Adler collection. Features the Inferior Five. This is not their first appearance, but probably their second appearance. I don't know about that. They may have made more than one appearance in Showcase, but this is comical cover, of course, a spoof. Take cover, fanatical fans. Here comes the delicious crime fighters in their own magazines battling battling the most sinister forces on earth. Would you believe the Campfire Girls? 12 center. And look at on their hood, they have arrows and machine guns. And they're following along in that old jalopy and a very, a goofy and a specter looking, almost like Hobgoblin, huh? Or Green Goblin. Look, but that's the Inferior Five. And you see the blimp up there flying, Dumb Bunny straddling in a sexy pose, and all them. Golden Arrow. Hell yeah. Machine guns. That's right. On the hood. That's a little James Bond goodness there. All right. We got another witching hour. This might be the first one. I don't know. But yeah, I like these creature ones, like that I have like Creatures of the Black Lagoon. That was a 12 center. This one's 20 center with the round DC bullet and everything. This is witching hour number 34. And got the hands coming up, little Huckleberry Finn. He's taking at the well, and here comes the creature up behind him. What he don't know could kill him. I died last night. Yeah, he's still got a lot of fish there he caught though, and I think this is a Nick Cardy cover. Like I said, he did a lot of those type covers. That's nice Nick Cardy cover. This one, do I have a notation? Nope. This is a werewolf cover, but you don't really get to you see enough there. He almost looks like a Mr. Hyde, though. But they obscured, and I like how they did the witching hour. It's midnight, the witching hour. They did it like a word balloon with the old witch up there. This is number 22. Pete, why are you holding me so tight? Oh no, what's happening to your face? I know I've been on dates like that. All new stories, best in comics, now only 20 cents. They raised the price and they probably said now only to make it hurt less. But his face obscured there. You're not meant to see his face. It looks like a Nick Cardy cover. Werewolf. I mean, that's how I tell is the character's face is how they hey, while he draws, you're coming in late, but yeah, wasted on airway. Yeah. I know a lot of people are streaming right now. But yeah, Craig Fleischer was a great golden age artist. His moody style would have fit Batman, but the guy I wish had been Batman back then is George Rousseau's. Yeah, he was a great inker, wasn't he, George? Um, he would have been perfect. Um, this is the Neil Adams, but it's not, and it's early Neil Adams. It's he did some Jerry Lewis, The Adventures of Jerry Lewis, America's funniest comic mag, Many Lives of Jerry Lewis, plus beautiful art masterpiece number 5. But you don't think of Neil Adams, but he did a lot of the Jerry Lewis covers. This is 104, and that's an approval cover from the Jack Adler collection. A lot of comedic stuff, even has a pirate, in there, sumo wrestler. No, that's not Shane Davis. Even got the little girl there behind him and the little kid and Frankenstein. And he probably did the little head up here, Neil Adams. That's unusual. Neil Adams, Jerry Lewis. When you think of Neil Adams, you don't think of Jerry Lewis, but he did a bunch of those covers around that time. Here's another Hawk and Dove. I showed you Hawk and Dove #1, but done by Ditko, a rare #1, and done by Ditko, but by #3, and maybe even by the second, I think he did the second issue, Ditko did, but #3, Gil Kane. Gil Kane goodness happening here, and he's even got Gil Kane up there on a like it's an advertisement on the side of the board. Hawk and Dove #3. Sort of an worm's eye view, looking up, and he's Dove stalking the guy. The bad guy's getting away. Cat like 12 center. Getting down to the end of the pile, but look at this. DC bullet on the back. This is stationary. This is early DC stationary from the Jack Adler collection. And this would have been circulated around the office. Of course, how many people kept this? And then if they kept it, unless they've got it socked away somewhere with some other art or other production stuff, or when they worked there, how many people saved this? My friend has a business card, a Jack Adler business card, maybe the only one. And the thing about it is, a Walt Disney art, there's maybe only one known. I know a big Disney collector that has it, has an art when he had his first animation studio. But yeah, this it's unusual. They've got them all there, and it's like she's holding up nothing, but you can just barely see that round DC. And it would have been printed. It's printed on the back side of this, and I think it's probably notated that this stationery is Jack Adler on the back. Individual artists would have the same stationery, but have their name on it. But it has Superman, Shazam or Captain Marvel, Batman, Flash, Aquaman, Robin, and Wonder Woman on there. Just a rare piece, rare piece. You wouldn't think that much about it, but how much of that stationery saved? But there was at least this page and a few of those in the Jack Adler collection. Now, this is interesting piece. Production art that you would see used again and again and again by various artists. I would say this is Kurt Swan. This might be Wayne Boring. This barreled shape, that looks like Kurt Swan as well. But Superman and the totals. This is what he says on this is that this is to certify that it's original piece of DC production art. We told him to go with these nice embossed COAs. People, I like that, want to see that, but he went to these cheap ones. This is Superman stock images, publisher's proof. And he went to just these paper ones, but at least it tells you what it is. And this stuff would have been used again and again and again. The logos, the poses on toys, on their boxes, on, just used again and again and again. Here's another one with Shazam or Captain Marvel, probably all CC Beck artwork in the logos in different poses, flying pose. Yes, I'm on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm under Devil Flyer Momentum. I'm on Instagram. I don't much get on Instagram, but I need to put, some of that stuff up on here. This is an interesting one. It's a big 64-page special. Of course, they had their regular run. This is just make sure approval cover. Like I said, I've got more approval covers than anything, and this isn't all of it. I do have some acetate color guides, and I have some paper color guides. And I'm also on Twitter under Devil Flyer Momentum, and I also, of course, got this YouTube channel. But the Three Musketeers, and they're funny. And some of these go back. I mean, the early issues. I got an early issue, like maybe #3 or 5, something like that, from the 1950s. This one isn't quite that old in that run. This might have been the second that they were in, but a nice, and they like to use a lot of magenta, you know, but background that, but it just pops. Here's another Three Musketeers, number 2, earlier, and you see the cat there, 15 cent. This must have been the second then, because they started out in the 50s when they were National Comics. Oh, DC logo there still, though, on that early 70s. They hadn't switched it over yet. Of course, that DC logo said Superman, DC, National Comics. It wasn't up till about the 80s or so that they switched over to being called DC Comics officially. Now, this is the last one, but it's a key one. It's an origin issue, and it's her first appearance, Black Orchid in Adventure Comics, and because it's her first appearance as key issue, number 428, 20 center. I think it came out in 1973. That's an final test cover, because on the back here with the COA, you can see that and a little bit of that it has the ads printed inside and out. So this would have been the back cover ad. And what I've done with these, I put the board in between both, because they're a little bit larger, and separate them out. And you can see if I took that COA out, you'd see that that's sort of Hot Wheels or something like that. This is Bob Oskner cover art, and that's the first appearance of Black Orchid right there. I wanted to get some more that they had of that, but I didn't, sadly didn't. Well, the pig is reminding me it's party time, and I need to go. I just wanted to put up a stream today after being on Pop XP. Hope you got it there. If there's any questions, throw them up in the chat real quick. But yeah, I'll be showing a few more. This was a big portion of my, and I may even find that, see that sticker here somewhere that I featured earlier, just to show that again. But I don't see it readily available here. I'm sure I will after the stream. But yeah, just a rare bit of stuff that he found. After his death, Robert went in there and found like a piece up in the attic. You know, he said, if we checked everywhere, and he went up there and came home with icons, 10 huge boxes worth of stuff. And he's got stuff for sale that's part of the Jack Adler collection. If you're interested in that, he's got stuff from the Jack Adler collection up for sale, and other things like the Charlton and other good books. I mean, he had a whole collection of X-Men past issue 500 that were CGC graded 9.8, or some of the earlier ones might have been, but he had them all. He had a whole collection he had to sell due to medical reasons, and he's been through a rough time of late in the last couple of years, but he hated to sell it. But can you imagine having a collection of X-Men, all CGC graded, and most of them in 9.8? Some of the earlier ones might have been in lesser grade, but he had a whole collection of over 500 issues. That was his favorite. So he had a lot of but I've met a lot of good people through the years and got a lot of good deals, but it is about meeting people and seeing what they like to collect. Here's that sticker once more. That's just a 1976 sticker in red, white, and blue of the old DC logo with them. And don't know, but this is rare, brother. I mean, it's an unused sticker. Stickers got stuck on stuff, I mean, want you to survive in, like, pretty darn good shape. Maybe a little yellowing on the back, but that right there is probably the color, pretty original to what it was, probably an offset brown to begin with. But yeah, this is the type of stuff besides his collection that he saved in stationery. But we'll be featuring some other stuff here pretty soon. You never know when I'm going to stream and what I'm going to dig out of the treasure chest. I just came across those earlier today, uh, cleaning up. But I'm rambling now. So thanks for coming in, uh, Wiley and Greg and anybody else that was in here. And thanks for another successful stream.